Hey everyone, this is an off the cuff, behind the scenes share, if you will, because I'm struggling with some stuff. And I thought that number one, it might be helpful for me to record this and just be transparent about the things that I struggle with. And number two, it might be an opportunity to share with you some of the things that I do when I'm feeling stuck. Just for some context, I have been planning on creating a new project for my ADHD community. And this one is specifically for anyone who's trying to build an online business. A lot of my clients that come to me are consultants or coaches or have some sort of a small business, and they get stuck along the way because a lot of this work is executive function heavy, if you will. So I help them pull out their own thoughts. If you are somebody who struggles to execute based on self-motivation or self-induced deadlines or ambiguity around a project, then hopefully this will be helpful. It doesn't have to be entrepreneurial related, but this is with my entrepreneur clients in mind. So with that context, as I mentioned, I am trying to build out a product for new entrepreneurs, and it's a roadmap for building in a way where you have to develop your own structure and your own accountability and bring something into the world that is currently nothing, right? Like that's the creative process. And it's not just about building something, it's about building something and not getting in your own way with a bunch of head trash. And that is why I hit record today, because I sat down to start working on this project this afternoon, and I just dealt with so much head trash coming into it that I thought, oh, this is a good moment for me to share when I'm in the thick of the crappy stuff, and maybe I can work through it out loud and be of some value to all of you. So let's talk about the head trash piece in terms of this project. The project itself, I have a date in my mind that I'd like to launch it mid-September. And I have an outline of the project. I know who my target audience is. It's somebody who is brand new to starting an online business, or they just finished a coaching program and they want to launch a coaching business. They need a framework for launching the business. And I have that in mind. And I know where these people are in their journey, and I know what hangs them up. The reason I know what hangs them up is because I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with clients in that specific position. So they tell me about their pain points and where they get stuck. And also, I always invite people to share with me what pain points are they going through these days. And whenever somebody shares something with me, if I can, I'll make content out of it. But at the very least, I store it. I have an entire database of client pain points, because the more I know what keeps my audience up at night, the more I can serve them with helpful tools. So that, I think, is just a little nugget for any of you who are thinking of getting into entrepreneurship, or you're at the beginning stages of entrepreneurship. Make sure that whatever you're building is problem focused. A lot of folks come into entrepreneurship with this idea of, I want to be a barefoot entrepreneur with a laptop or on the beach. The allure of being an entrepreneur and owning your own time is very sexy. But the reality is, if you are leaving a corporate job because you want the lifestyle of an entrepreneur before you've ever given thought to the problem that you're looking to solve, I can guarantee it's probably not going to go the way you expect it to. And I speak from not just one episode of doing that, but several. So this is all from my own experience. Think about the problem you want to solve first. And I know that people say, oh, think about things that people come to you and ask you for. I don't find that very helpful, because my friends don't call me up and say, hey, you seem to be somebody who's really good with ADHD. Tell me what you think about this. But what I do think is really important is to see something that needs to be fixed in the world, or a problem, and address it. Right? With your business. Your business is a solution to a problem. And it can be something where there's a lot of other people solving that problem. That's fine. That's proof of concept, right? The way you do it is going to be the way you do it. There's a million people out there coaching online entrepreneurs, but I coach to a specific audience of ADHDers, or people with attentional issues who are a little ADD-ish, and they struggle to get started, and they struggle with creating structure, and they struggle with taking this massive idea that completely overwhelms them and building it into a plan. And I too struggle with that, which is where I'm at right at this moment. I am not great at taking a big idea and situating it into specific tasks because that is an executive function. It requires a lot of working memory to keep a lot of things in your head at once and then try to noodle them in your head and make sense of it. So I need to do everything not on paper. I don't actually do anything on paper. I do everything in Notion. I love Notion. I'm not a salesperson for them, but I do have a link below if you are interested in trying them. I use Notion with the AI feature, so I do pay for it. But otherwise, if you just want the basic infrastructure, it's free. But the AI feature is really cool. So I'll show you what I've done in my template. This template, if you are a Notion user, is available for sale. It is very robust, but I don't recommend buying it if you are not already familiar with Notion because you're going to buy it and then you're going to be like, I don't know what to do with it if you don't already know how to duplicate a template and work with it in Notion. So let's get into it. So we're jumping into the template that I had previously created. So this is where I'm at so far. This is a full database of content. And then I've got some images here. I'll explain all of it in a second, but where I wanted to start with is when I opened my file here because I had planned this block of time to work on the Organized Entrepreneur. That's the name of the project. And I opened it and I start scrolling through, and immediately I'm like, this is shit. Nobody's going to buy this. This sucks. What the hell am I talking about? I don't know what I'm doing. Like everybody and their grandmother has a program like it. Like you imagine like the head trash that's going through my head, right? And then I sat back for a minute and I realized what was happening. Okay, I'm talking myself out of doing this. What's going on? And it's either a fear of what might happen if I actually follow through with this, a fear of wasting my time if it's a failure, or is that I am feeling disconnected from the project in some way. And I just need to get into it, give myself some time to reacquaint myself with the work that I had done previously, because at this point, I'm just feeling like it's crap. And I actually had drafted all of this out, like I would say about a month ago. I haven't really worked on it since then. So I don't even remember what's in this database. So instead of entertaining my head trash anymore, and judging the price I put in here, which is just a placeholder. I don't know if I'm actually going to charge that much. I don't know if I'm actually going to sell 50 units at launch. I have no idea, right? At this point, I'm just feeling super disconnected from the process. So I need to think again, like, what is my why? And my why is I want to serve the customers or clients I have that come to me that stress out about not knowing the next step to do and feeling very overwhelmed and then doing nothing, which is exactly what's happening for me here in this moment. And I think to myself, okay, well, what would I tell my client in this moment? And I might start by asking them, well, why is it you want to do it? And they'll tell me, just like I told you, this is for these clients. And why do you think this is important? Well, because my clients struggle with this. And I personally feel like a lot of these things don't require one-on-one coaching. Some of them do, but some of them can be done like just with a one-off masterclass or workshop or program that is more affordable, they can do at their own time and lays out the steps clearer. So I knew there was a why, I knew there was a need. And at that point, I started to feel a little bit more connected to what it was that I was doing. But that didn't mean that what I've done so far was good or not. I still had this like, this is going to be trash moment. So that, okay, let's go through what I've written so far and just reacquaint myself. And this is actually a really good prompt because switching tasks can be very cognitively expensive for us. If we're engaged in something and we need to go do something else, then when we come back to the first thing that we were doing, we have no idea where to dive right in again because it requires executive function and working memory to be able to remember where we were. And that is the problem with me in this project. I have forgotten where I am on it and I've disconnected myself from it. So time to take some time to read through everything that I've done. So I go through this and I start reading through all of the modules that I've already created. And it's like, damn, this stuff is actually pretty good. And wow, I didn't realize that I had done this much work. So again, coming back to acquainting yourself with what you've already done and realizing the value that it has. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what if I haven't done anything yet? And the overwhelm is coming from a place of, I don't even know where to start. I will show you a little trick. Now, you can do this in Notion. You can do this just straight Chat GBT. If you're not familiar with Chat GBT, It's an AI tool. It's got its own little brain, right? And it can help you do things. So within the paid version of Notion, you can ask ChatGPT stuff without having to leave the program itself, which is what I love because again, switching tasks is very cognitively expensive for us. So we want to be able to stay working in the same software as much as humanly possible. That's a tip for any ADHD or anybody who wants to be productive. This isn't just ADHD stuff. So anyway, if I want to start a project, then I would use the AI feature in Notion, which is ChatGPT. And all you have to do to initiate the AI feature is press the space button, and it immediately gives you a bunch of stuff that you can do, right? So I want to ask this to help me outline a process for launching an online business, make it tactical and provide specific takeaways that one can take to get started and also make it ADHD friendly. And of course, this is a very high level request. So it's going to give me a very high level output. So I can ask this to continue writing, to make it longer, to try again. I'm just going to ask it to insert what is written here so I can look at it. And I'm looking at it and it's pretty basic and it's crap, basically. It needs a lot of work. I don't see anything in here about ADHD. I don't see anything here about specific tactics. Identify your passion and skill. Okay, well, how do I do that? See what I mean? When you ask this AI software to give you something, it's going to give you something very rudimentary. And the more specific you are with the ask, the better quality output you're going to get. But this is, for example, purposes only. When I have like that overwhelm where I don't even know where to start, I start here. I think of the idea of the thing that I want to do. Let's say it's a concept for a video or a blog post or something like that, or I want to create some copy for my website and I have no idea where to start. I ask the AI feature to break something down for me and it gives me something that's horrible, but then I have a place to start from because templates eliminate that sense of ambiguity and it gives you something to critique, criticize, and work with, right? So I can look at step one, define your business idea, identify your passions and skills, and think to myself, well, that's crap. First, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So the point here is that starting from something, even if it's crap, is always better than starting from nothing. And sometimes you're going to get a little nugget of wisdom that you didn't even think about. So that is the process I used when I started building out the content for this course. And again, like it was very rudimentary and pretty simplistic, the stuff that I got. But I was able to build it out from there because I have my own expertise. And now I had a place to start from. So validate and clarify as opposed to come up with your business plan. And I found these things tremendously helpful. And from there, I was able to be prolific. And then I can take all of these notes and just say to the AI feature, space, summarize. This is just going to summarize everything that I have here so that I can dive back into it, knowing at a high level what I've produced so far. And that just takes me so much further down the path than not knowing where I am, feeling disconnected to what it is I'm doing, not knowing the why behind who I'm doing it for or why they need it. So that was my process. And when I did that, it was like, holy crap, this is actually really good. And as I was reading through it, I was starting to imagine in my mind, well, what are the slides going to look like that I'm going to put with each of these modules? And what would the workbook content be? So I started to take the ideas and the written word that I had had so far, then visually process it. Because although I do visually process things, words and just language itself is my primary way of processing information. So for me, it's always words first, then visuals, and then putting it into wherever it goes next. And to that end, what I had also done previously when I had worked on this before, as you'll see here, I built a visual. So after I created all of these modules, I wanted a visual to make it very easy for me to look at where I was in my own roadmap that I created. So nail your idea, value and clarify, build the basics. This is more just for me, but this will eventually be built into a pretty visual that will become part of this roadmap. So I think the takeaway there is think about how you process information and use that to help you build materials if you're working on a big project where it requires you to stop what you're doing and then come back in and have some level of remembrance of where you left off. Having these visuals can be really helpful to that end. So now I know that I am ready to start crafting module one, the slides, and then doing recording. And then I will put module one into Teachery, which is the online learning platform that I love. I will link it below just in case you're interested, but it's a very robust software that I adore. And that just helps me move my process forward, get into the flow of productivity and out of the head trash piece that can be so stifling. So I hope that me breaking down my process has been in some way helpful and that you can take the little tips and tricks that I shared with you so that you can move forward with your project instead of just kicking it down the calendar line as I had been doing for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the further you get away from it, the less emotionally connected you become to it. And then the harder it is to pick up again. So on that note, thanks for listening. And I will see you in the next episode of the behind the scenes design and launch of The Organized Entrepreneur. Talk to you soon.